right, good morning, everybody. We are underway from Albuquerque, New Mexico at long last. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. As you would expect, based on what channel this is, I am Will Anderson, but of course, I am joined by my co-commentator, top expert, Sam Rosin. Sam, good morning. How excited are you today?
Good morning. I'm very excited. Certainly going to be a lot of fun. Awesome to commentate with you. I don't think we've ever done this. I've never commentated with you before. And, I'm no Will Anderson, but it's a lot of fun to, get to watch some high level Scrabble and, see the action from Albuquerque.
Yeah, we're about to get underway, and I'm absolutely astonished that this is a round one matchup here between our last week's Scrabble Players Championship finalist, Waseem Khatri, and I believe a 10-time Pakistani Scrabble champion versus one of the top players in the U.S. for most of the last decade in Evans Clinchy. The fact that this is a round one matchup is pretty astonishing.
That's a great stat. 10-time Pakistani champion.
I think that's correct.
That's amazing.
I think that's true.
Well, I'm interested to see, they both, like Evans, for certainly, like you said, one of the top players, especially in the Collins group in the last decade or so. But also, I think his form is kind of variable. I guess you could say his results haven't been at the top. Maybe he's a little. He's busy with life. He's a relatively new dad, maybe not, studying the words as hardcore as he was before. So, but, he's a dangerous player. He has a great word knowledge and skill. And so it's interesting to see what level he brings. I hope that's not too daring of a statement, but, it'll be interesting. So it's definitely a top tier matchup. A good friend of mine, Evans. So I don't mean to diss him or anything.
Not at all. I think it's fair to have priorities of raising your child versus studying the Scrabble dictionary. But we know that Evans is an extremely strong player. I do agree with you that things when your life priorities intercede, then maybe studying the dictionary and practicing your Scrabble skills is something that gets short shrift compared to the necessities of life. But I definitely expect an extremely strong game between these two players. And again, it's typically, just to put into context our surprise here, in round one, you typically get matchups between the really strong established top level players, and then you'll often see those players square off against players from the middle or lower tier of the division. The fact that we're seeing these two players compete is a sign that the CSW division at World Cup is incredibly deep and strong. So I'm very, very excited for that. But of course, we will be showing some coverage from the WoW division. That is a variation for those unfamiliar with that. It essentially is a very, very close to the usual North American lexicon. So for those more familiar with that level of play, there will be games from that division as well. So Waseem just coming in second, a runner-up to Josh Castellano at Scrabble Players Championship just last week. And I've seen some comments, Sam, in the chat of people saying July is the best time of year for Scrabble. Hard to argue with that with all these big events on the calendar.
Definitely agree with that. Yeah, so just sent a long email to one of our DC Scrabble clubs yesterday with bragging about our member Josh Castellano and his big victory in South Bend, among other things. It's a great time for Scrabble. And also, like you said, this is sort of a testament to how many strong players there are in the Collins field, that you'd have two strong players matched up, two top tier players matched up in the first round. I mean, Waseem, a finalist at the Scrabble Players Championship 2 of the last 3 years. Evans also won the Collins division of the Scrabble Players Championship, among his other accomplishments, as something is happening in the tournament room behind Evans, underneath the table there. So yeah, two strong players, but you've also got, Dave Wiegand, a 2-time North American champion in the North American lexicon, as well as, I think what recognized as one of the strongest Collins players. in the world, really. Joel Wapnick, a former national and world champion. Josh Sokol, former North American champion. Jesse Day, former North American and world runner-up. Wellington, I forgot about him, world champion, of course. Not to mention just dominated the Albany tournament a few weeks ago and dominated the Scrabble Players Championship last year when he made it over. So a lot of great players. I'm leaving people out too. So other people have won big tournaments. So anyway, it's, with so many great players in a field of, gosh, how many folks do we have? Is it 40 or so? It's going to be, we're probably gonna have matchups like this all the time. Hey, Waseem, I think we're good. Not looking at us, I guess, for looking at the our stream team, but looks like we're underway.
All right, here we go. Yeah, I think the top division has something like 25 or I don't know, some amount of people where it really is that top group. And as you suggested, we are underway here with Evans drawing a bunch of duplicated tiles. Sam, I feel like the play, whatever Evans makes, is likely to come down very fast here.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like, we both do those word builder quizzes in Aerolith.
Yes.
You get 7 letters and maybe they say find all the 5-letter words. And, pretty quickly, unless I'm missing something, I'm seeing one 5-letter word. It's a common word and it puts your highest point tile on the double letter score. And it gets rid of your double I and your double E and another vowel. And so that seems like a pretty clear word to pick. And so, yeah, there it goes. Less than a minute for Evans.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Only thing to note at when this hits the board, a lot of hooks on the end of voice, voicer, voiced, voices, and maybe, just maybe, at some point in the game, because of that V of voice, making it very difficult to really obstruct. You could see the extension of out voice be relevant at some point, just for a solid score, dumping some uglier tiles. We'll see if that eventually comes into play. And it's back over to Waseem here, and he's got a weird rack with the Q and X on it. It's not really, it doesn't feel like he's likely to have a play that makes him very happy here, but yeah, he's considering just playing Axis, maybe. I think he's likely to get, he's likely to get back around to playing his Q, and there it goes, Sam. I like that choice for Waseem.
Yeah, you usually want to get rid of the Q. It's seen by pretty much everyone as the worst tile, despite its 10 face points of value, because there's so few words with a Q, especially if you don't have a U. And so unless there was some sort of option that, really set himself up for next turn, which certainly I didn't see. Maybe I think this is a perfectly fine play. Totally worth spending that second S, because you've just got another S to keep for next turn, and he'll have more flexible tiles on his next play. And speaking of flexible tiles, Evans has a bit of a vowel. He's still got that vowel overload, even though he got rid of a few of them. He's got 5 still, so maybe one more than you'd want. I might be looking, can I use that QU in any way? Can I dump a few of these vowels somehow? Nothing, for me, nothing immediately pops out, but of course, Will, you probably see something, but of course, folks in the chat, feel free to share your thoughts. And I'd be trying to, if I were Evans right now, just try to dump a couple of these vowels without opening up a big spot for my opponent, and try to maybe set myself up for future turns, unless there's some big scoring play, and he doesn't quite have that O for out voices. So probably no big scores on offer for him.
Yeah, there's nothing inspiring here. Evans is going to have to make a play that doesn't feel that great to make, but I actually really like this choice of Umiak for Evans. It leaves a very difficult board in general. unbeknownst to Evans, he's just made Waseem's next play incredibly easy. We're going to see racks go down here for sure, undoubling those R's. I can't imagine that there's anything much better than racks for Waseem. I think that's going to be his best play by a mile. And there we do see it go down nearly instantaneously. In general, though, Sam, I feel like the board after Umiak is very, very difficult to do much on. So I like that choice. Really, there wasn't a standout option. Another play for Evans on that turn would have been to play Etui and Chi right here with the Q. That's a little bit easier for Waseem to re-parallel or potentially to play down with something good that doesn't fit after Umiak, where the board is much tighter. So classic instance of what I think here is a good play by Evans that worked out, not the best in this exact situation. And that's kind of a maddening thing about Scrabble sometimes, Sam, when you make the right play, but the outcome ends up worse.
I completely agree. I think it was a good choice. Etui would have left a little more flexible leave with that AEM instead of the EET, but there's a benefit to not throwing things wide open. QI takes that N hook as well as the S hook, of course. So those floating tiles for bingos of Etui, like a floating E. So yeah, really, over a U, basically only, an X is the only heavy hitting tile that's going to go there. And so it's pretty rare that your opponent's going to have that X ready to put there. So as Evans might play that, I think these have been good decisions so far. I don't have much to quibble with. So here, Evans, he's got which is sort of a relatively obvious possibility, and he's going to go for that. It does put a Y in the triple lane. Another possibility was Yaz and Umiaks. I'd want to count up those two possibilities and see if Yaz and Umiaks
they actually scored the same. They actually scored the same.
Then never mind. Yeah, I keep saying and seeing this word on the board. All I can say is yeah. But this seems like a very strong play. EST, one of the best 3-letter combinations you can have, makes so many words unless you have one of those magic blank tiles, of course. And so, unfortunately for Evans, Waseem's got a very strong rack. He's got tankers available. He's which does play with Tar and Aha, and he's probably gonna go for that and score a very nice bonus with that 50 extra points for using all his tiles. And he also has Rankist. I don't think that goes anywhere.
It does. He had Rankist set up with Umiaks, but now he has a better spot for it that doesn't open up as dangerous of a triple. So when he plays tankers, there will be an R right here, but that's not nearly as dangerous as placing a letter all the way in the triple lane the way Rankist would here. So Waseem has a bunch of options, and I definitely expect him to play tankers overlapping here pretty quickly for 88 points, striking first here.
Yeah, he's probably making sure he doesn't have that magic triple available through the Y. That'd be a 200-point play almost. So he wants to make sure he's not missing any big overlapping plays or triple plays. But this is the right decision, highest scoring play. So in most I'm sure it scores more than Rankist, and also it is more defensive as well, not leaving that easy access to that triple lane on the top row of the board. So Waseem's going to take an early lead, which always feels good. But Evans has decent tiles. He's slowly, over the course of 3 turns, kind of improved his rack. He did draw the WB combination, which isn't great. He drew noob, so the NE is a little better, and he's going to look for scoring plays here. Maybe something like a Ewen, Yewen, hits the triple word score. Not the best leave, but keeps his S. I don't see anything. You'd love to play something through that R of tankers, using your high point tiles, your W and your B, and tripling them. But Will, do you see any great options for Evans here, or more of a difficult turn for he looks like he's sort of deep in thought here?
Yeah, it's tough because the play you suggested of Ewan here, which I believe is Colin's only word, meaning it's like one of those tree words. There are a lot of words that just mean, you know, containing or just like made of that tree. And you is a word for a tree. So that word there looks like the most points that he can score. But you mentioned it, Sam. It keeps BST. Ideally, he would love to use both the B and the W, but it doesn't really look like there are any plays worth making that do both of those. I mean, something like web through this E just doesn't score anywhere near enough points to be worth it compared to other options. So I think it's really between Ewan and maybe something like Wirt through the R of tankers. That has the benefit of obstructing that open triple, where maybe if Waseem has just the right consonant, he might hit that triple really, really hard if he places something really damaging in that spot. But there really isn't that much there. One of the better letters for that spot, the K, has already been played. One of the two Y's has already been played. So that spot isn't super dangerous. I think Evans is, if he sees it, I slightly favor Ewan here, but it's not an automatic word to spot. And he has a couple other options that are at least in the same area in terms of quality of the play. So not sure what he'll do. Waseem doesn't have the best letters to respond with either. So the game's still very much up for grabs right now.
Yeah, I think either way, with whatever Evans goes with, Waseem will sort of have, like you said, clunky. He'll have options to score some points, but he'll need to leave some sort of clunky letters to do so. And yeah, of course, something like web for a big score or noob for a big score is what Evans would have wanted to play. And he is going with Wirt. Personally, I do slightly prefer Ewan. It's not the easiest word to see, I think. So it's possible he didn't consider that play or spot that play. Or it's possible he prefers, keeping an E. Of course, that does make his leave better. But, yes, he takes out that triple with word score with the R, but, he's leaving open a triple word score with a Y, which, of course, you could score plenty of points with that as well. And Waseem might play something like body, which he has set up, which is going to score decently and get rid of some of his clunkers. He might consider Joey. So Joey keeps four constants and a very clunky leave, but he does have the option if he wanted to take it of scoring 42. So anyway, I have a slight preference for Ewan, but nothing wrong with Evans's play, and he has drawn the first coffee tile. That's not a coffee tile; that is a blank, which has a coffee cup, some sort of coffee cup on it. And Evans, I assume, is going to bingo, and Waseem does actually go with Joey, keeping the B, C, D, D leave. So if we were trying to get to the beginning of the alphabet, that'd be great. But for forming words, it's a little tricky. What do you think of that play, Will?
Yeah, it's tough because that gets you a bunch more points than the other plays in that spot, like Body or Doby, which score 12 fewer points, but they do have the benefit of keeping an E. Just want to point out that had Evans played Ewan, Waseem would have had the chance to play Jerboa through the R of tankers, connecting to the A of Umiak, which would have been a phenomenal play to see hit the board. But Joey makes sense just to grab those extra points and get rid of the J. But you can see the downside of it was it kept 4 consonants on his rack, and it left him vulnerable to the exact sort of draws that you see right there, drawing 3 more consonants, putting Waseem in a world of hurt. And you can see the best bingo available right here for Evans is Verbina's down from this from this V, I should say. And we're very likely to see Evans spot that play. When he does, Waseem will be powerless to do almost anything through this S on the bottom part of the board because he's left himself vulnerable with all those consonants. So you could see a big swing in this game had Waseem kept his vowel, which, to be clear, I think Joey is a perfectly reasonable play, not a massive mistake or anything like that, but it does have this downside, which is coming into play right here. But first, Evans has to spot Verbenas. Do you think he's going to do it, Sam?
I think so. This is kind of what I was talking about with, Evans, when Evans won the Collins Scrabble Players Championship division, I think it was 6 years ago. No doubt in my mind he would spot this, and you'd probably spot it quickly. I don't see if there's other bingo options. There may be through the W or it's tough because there are a few different options. And there he goes. So he does spot it.
Nice.
And great play, of course. And I'm also seeing Chad saying it's a beer. It's not a coffee cup. Maybe it's Evans's set. So I guess I don't know. I thought it was sort of steam rising from a coffee cup on that blank tile. I've gotten some questions among like newer players from the club, like what are these letters on that tile? And it looks like Waseem is quickly challenging Verbenas. I guess Verbena could look like maybe it's a plural of some other word, but yeah, this blank was correctly designated as an A, and so this challenge will be unsuccessful, and Evans will gain an extra 5 points for his play, which will send him into the lead, I believe.
Yeah, let me just make sure that he gets the credit for those extra 5 points as he makes his best play. Part of the challenge there from Waseem's point of view was probably he knows that he is very unlikely to have a good way of playing through that triple here. He's really looking almost certainly at exchanging, and he quickly makes that decision. It's never a decision that you want to make. He exchanges 7, Sam, really just going hard, trying to get some vowels ASAP. He might have opted to leave 1 or 2 of those tiles on his rack, but maybe he's got a good reason to exchange 7.
Yeah, of course, these are minor things like, keeping like a C or a, something like that. It's a minor thing. It's maybe you could say it's a point difference or so in terms of your expectation. I probably would have kept maybe like a C, and that's usually a useful tile for forming bingos and other words. Sometimes I notice when folks they have a really bad rack, they're like, let me just trade 7. I mean, maybe that's not what happened here. Maybe he had a more strategic reason, but it was a tough choice. I mean, he could have really sacrificed to block that S in the triple because, of course, like you're saying, that's a big spot on this board, and Evans is looking right at it to make a word like shift that he first had set up, and now he's looking at Brazil through that blank A in Verbenas or Verbenas, but that would have been a huge sacrifice, leaving himself with terrible tiles. So I think it probably makes sense to exchange. You don't love doing it with the wide open part of the board, but it would have been tough to fight through it.
I'm curious if he's going to spot maybe so he seems to have seen shift, Brazil. Maybe he's thought of shrift. All of those plays are a high degree of difficulty, but I think he's overlooking potentially, at least from the way he's arranged his tiles, the simplest play would just be FIZ alongside Verbenas, right? Like just right here seems to be a really nice play to somewhat obstruct the S. It does still allow for play headed to the right along the bottom of the board, but it scores 49 points, which I think is the most that he can get. It leaves him 4 consonants, but at least they have some decent synergy together. So I'm surprised. I will be surprised, but if he doesn't eventually at least consider that play. But all the other plays he has identified will still be pretty solid. I just think Fizz seems like a strong play to me, Sam.
Good point. Yeah, I only looked at it briefly, but I didn't notice that yet. But sometimes players have a bit of blank blindness, right? Like maybe you kind of not forget. Of course, he knows it's an A. He just declared it an A, but you don't always look at the blank and think about sort of paralleling it and turning it into a word. And also when things are so wide open, your first instinct is, do I have a 6-letter word with my Z that hits the triple? So yeah, this is going to be, I think, an error. It's maybe not a big blunder or anything, but you're right. Fizz would have been a nice way to score more. He would have scored a lot more. His leave would have been constant and heavy, but a little bit flexible with that H. And, maybe he could start a word with SH or something like that. And this kind of opens up. Now, there's only one other S, but, if someone had that S, they could make a pretty big hitting play with Frazils. And when you're taking a lead, you might not want to open up a spot like that when there's just sort of one more tile that can go there. So and he's, the triple word score is still open. And I hope Waseem is not going to play the non-word townage.
He has townage lined up
on his rack. For those of us who watched the some of the Scrabble Players Championship last week, Waseem obviously played excellently to finish in second place. I know in the finals, he did play a phony word. He played buoyance, like the adjective buoyant with an S on the end, and he sort of had it set up on his rack, and he thought about it for a while, and then he just sort of went for it. So there is the word towage, I guess relating to towing or something, and there's also stowage. So of course he may be sort of conflating those words that have a TOW and then an AGE in them, or maybe he's just set it up this way just because, just for fun.
Towage fitting here. That seems to be a strong play. Townage, I feel like he's staring at this for suspiciously long. I'm starting to get a little worried. He certainly does not need to take a risk like that right now. And then he's just got OW in this upper corner, leaving very nice balanced tiles. Typically the G would be the worst of those, but you've got a chance of drawing some of these I's to go with it. A lot of I's left that if Waseem were to pick one, his bingo chances would spike up very dramatically. So this is kind of a big swing here. If Waseem takes the risk of playing this word, which it feels like he is right on the precipice of doing, Evans will challenge this word off without question. There's no way Evans is going to let that stay on the board. So this is a big swing. And I would also note that a couple of you in the chat have already pointed out the very big difference on the clock here, even after a long think on this turn, almost 3 minutes for Waseem. He still is way ahead on the clock right here. We'll just have to see if that manifests itself as a factor down the stretch of this game. There's still a lot of game to play. You can see 49 tiles still unseen to Waseem on this turn, meaning 42 are in the bag, 7 on Evans's rack. So that's a lot of game left to play, with Evans having well under half of his time left.
Clock's a really interesting point. Well, I think Evans is playing well. It's not very well, but most of his plays have been, I've liked most of his plays, frankly. But he's taking a while. He's, and maybe this is sort of that rust. He's not playing as many tournaments. He's directing more, and, his parental life. And so, like his first play, for instance, a play like voice, but it took 50 seconds when maybe before it might have taken 15 or 20. And Verbina's took a couple minutes, but it might have taken, when he was at his sort of peak, I guess, maybe 30 seconds. So, it's we'll see if that comes into play. I do think it's good that Waseem's using his time here. There's nothing wrong with that. When you've got the advantage in the clock, you want to make sure you're making a good play. I think these are all good plays. I do like ow, because when you're losing, sometimes psychologically, I think when you're now he's trailing a little bit. Evans got that bingo to equalize on the bingo front, and then Waseem had to exchange with all those consonants, so he's trailing by a little bit. But you don't have to get desperate. You're down by 40 points. Ow is 29 points, so that's a pretty good score for And you want to try to go for a bingo to use all your letters for that 50-point bonus when you're losing, especially. So to keep a solid leave, I think towage only scores a little more and kind of gets rid of that cluster of that E, A, T. Those are pretty solid letters, and then he can maybe, like you said, that ING combo. So it's and he had toe set up. That must have just been in the same spot. Maybe he doesn't. Oh my God! Now he's looking at end toe edge, or I'm not sure exactly. But maybe
Yeah, and towage off of this E is would be a very bold on his part for sure.
yeah, especially
Seems like
after.
he's working his way back to towage, which, as you point out, Sam, this is a solid play. I do feel like OW in the corner scores very similarly on the scoreboard. This play is going to score 34 points for him. Ow in the top left scores 29. And I do think that it results in a fair number of extra bingos for Waseem on his next turn. But I would also add that Waseem is playing a bunch more tiles to maybe get his hands on that second blank. So there is some upside in him playing towage as well, blocking off a triple that Evans would potentially have needed to score well. It was really the only really flexible triple on the board. You still could imagine plays coming down here, but they wouldn't be quite as damaging as plays in the spot where Waseem played. And another consonant heavy rack for Waseem. So look at how close this game is. Evans with 2 U's on his rack and Waseem again with consonant overload. It seems like that second blank is going to loom very large in this game as both players are looking to work through some clunky situations.
Yeah, there's some good things to say about towage, and he took away that S spot. Maybe he said to himself, hey, Evans didn't play Fizz. Why do you play Frizzil? Maybe Evans is setting up that final S. Let me take that spot away. But on the other hand, there's sort of this idea of rack building, and you want to build towards getting that bingo, getting that 50-point bonus. And so Waseem kind of threw away a lot of that core of letters that he got on his exchange, and it's going to take him a couple more turns to dig out of this clunk of 2 Ds, a G, and a V, and also an M. Evan's going with a hod here, which I believe is a verb, so it does take an S.
Yeah,
I think
very aggressive play as he draws into Laureate through this R, which is a huge swing. I would point out, though, there was an amazing play on offer for Evans of Ahuru through the R of Frizzil, which would have left him with an excellent leave as well and potentially scored a lot more points. Wouldn't have opened him up to Waseem having this last S. So Evans taking the aggressive tack. I'm pretty sure he's likely missed that play of Ahuru on the previous turn for 31, leaving TED on his rack. But he is threatening a bingo that's going to give him, at least for the time being, a solid advantage in this game of Laureate through the R of Verbenas.
That's the tough thing when you've used a little more than half your clock. You've got around half the game left to play. And so you're sitting with a tough rack like that. You got 2 U's, you got a bunch of vowels, and maybe you don't see an amazing option right away. You don't see that Ahuru, and you say, yeah, gosh, I can't spend another 4 minutes. I got to play something. And so Evans, it was good in that he didn't use too much time on that play, and he kind of caught up a little on the clock. But he missed a good option. He's going to get a little. He got a good draw, and he will take that bingo lead 2-1 on the bingo scoreboard, and will stretch his lead out even further as after Waseem's just drops a V and a G for Vug, only getting 14 points, of course.
Yeah, so Waseem with just Vug, I mean, there were very few options that would have made anyone excited on that turn. So Vug, it's hard to really look at that and say that there was anything that much better. There really weren't options like that, but at least maybe if he was willing to part with that one vowel, maybe there were ways that he could have played slightly more tiles, but really that was a tough turn for him. The one thing about Vug is that it did do a lot to kind of protect this S hook eventually. And of course we see that Evans has that last S, but Vug made it a lot tougher to, well, I guess you could still play something really weak off of this G, which blocks the Hod's hook. But that hook now looms pretty large here. headed into down the stretch of this game. And Waseem's in another tough situation here. No bingos available for him. I think given the score, Sam, I feel like he almost has to play through this L with something just because it's the most points that he'll have on offer. At a deficit, he might like to leave that open, but I think he's got to take points here with something through that L.
Yeah, definitely. So, mild in or something like that, keeping a DN, but no, he goes with just mind, which is really not going to score very many points.
Mind instead, yeah. So
he's keeping that bingo leave, but both of the last 2 turns, he's kind of, really the last 4 turns, he traded, he's played toe edge, which scored well, but then just 14, and then this wasn't very many points, 12. So yeah, it's he's really got to hope for a bingo quickly. And DEIN's a good leave, but it's not exactly a guaranteed bingo. And we see he hasn't drawn a bingo, I don't believe, unless I'm missing something.
He does have dentoid.
Oh, dentoid. Oh my God. Oh wow. I gotta look it up. I gotta look up the racks before I talk.
But here's the thing. So dentoid will play right here for Waseem, but because he only took a 12-point play with this, Evans can just play pretty much anything through this L, or if he wants, I'm not sure what exactly he has. I don't think he's going to use his S right here just because it's so valuable. I think a play like what he seems to be about to play, such as nipple for 30, leaving his S to potentially follow up with a basically game-clinching bingo. Nipple scores 30, meaning that Waseem's eventual bingo is not even going to put him, I don't think, even in this game. Let me get the scores updated for you all. So mind was the play, M-I-N-D. What did he have on that? I think he had another D, right? He had dine. Yeah. Okay. So M-I-N-D, Evans playing nipple, and we'll get the scores updated in just a moment. Waseem hasn't played dentoid yet, but when he does, okay, so now I can confirm the score should be updated in just a second. And when Waseem plays dentoid, he's still going to be down by 20 points in this game. So that's what happens if you take such a small score on your previous play. But you can see that blank is still lurking. So Waseem's winning chance is still very much alive. He's going to play dentoid almost certainly. If he were to miss it,
you missed it. Well, it makes me, I guess I'm not the only one who doesn't immediately spot a bingo. I want to see that rack.
Yeah.
You say, I drew in the second D, I drew an O. Yeah, obviously this is a huge miss. I mean, he kind of got, he sacrificed a lot of points. Two turns in a row, he sacrificed points to go for that bingo, and he found that possibility, I think maybe relating to a tooth or something like that. I don't know. I'm guessing. He had that chance to not only bingo, but maybe draw that blank, like you said, and draw that last bingo, that sort of last bingo. And now it might be a little too late now. He is going to bingo, almost for sure. He's got trinode. Right? That's a word, right? I'm really second guessing myself.
Yeah.
And trendoid. Yeah, he definitely has trendoid.
Intorted also fits through the T of word.
Oh, nice spot there with the underlaps. But yeah, like we pointed out, Evans has that last S. So even if he doesn't have anything great this turn, he's probably going to be the one to use that spot. Of course, unless someone would have to use their blank as an S. So Evans, he can, he's probably going to be looking for a play that retains his S, maybe blocks off a bit of the board, something like Bifid, BIFID, that blocks off, because you really want to make sure Waseem can bingo twice. It's almost going to be tough for Waseem to just bingo once and win.
This is also the most dangerous spot. If you're Evans, I guess this is also possible. So this is tough because Evans could play something like GIF, and I don't want to spark the firestorm about how to pronounce this word, GIF or GIF, whatever the file name. He could play that here, which scores decently well and blocks off potential blank plays that Waseem could play here, pluralizing Hod. But it feels kind of weird to do that when you have the last S on your rack. So, like, if Evans wanted to save that spot, thinking that he might need it, he could play his F and his I right here. But I do like your idea, Sam, of just playing Bifid, burning through tiles. You never know that, when in a situation like this with that blank still lurking, playing more tiles can be really valuable to try to get your hands on that blank. And in this situation, Evans drawing that second blank is going to be a huge swing for him, knowing as we do that Waseem is going to bingo. And you could see he has set up Entorted on his rack, which is going to score quite well in this spot through the T. So again, that blank is slow to come out of the bag, but it's going to play a huge role here. If Waseem can bingo and grab it, he might be able to snatch this game away from Evans.
I do want to just take this opportunity, Will, to apologize to the chat. I realize I've now said, first of all, that Waseem did not have a bingo when he did, when he had the word dentoid. And I have said that he had a word I'm not going to repeat, just a phony 7-letter word that would be an extraordinarily high probability word if it were, I'm thinking of trinodal, an adjective. But so I'm sorry, chat, I let you down. I do play Scrabble. You can look me up on the various ratings websites and things. But anyway, yeah, Evans really burning the time down. He's got that lead, so it's. But I think we saw time trouble just last week at the SPC, and in the NWL division, we saw some crazy time scrambles, and he's kind of going with the idea of Biffin.
Wow.
He's blocking off a lot of the board. The thing is, and he's going to block both Trendoid and Entorted with this play.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That is an amazing play by Evans to block everything in one go. I think it does occasionally leave him a little vulnerable to tough draws, but that is going to work out incredibly well for him in this precise scenario. And you can see that blank finding its way onto his rack. Amazing. And Evans definitely has 7-letter words that are going to fit in this lane right here, like anionic and things like that. So Evans has just made a crazy, like a fox type play. I'm not sure too many engines would make that play, but it's worked out extremely well for him here.
Yeah, I think it sort of was the same idea, I think, of Bifid. He's basically blocking that line. I think, Bifid would have, I assume it's pronounced Bifid, would have blocked both of those bingos as well. It would have made him a little vulnerable. There was 1A left, so you could make Bifida, and you could go out to the triple word, and that would have been a tough possibility. He used his S, so I think it was a good play. It was definitely a good play to go up by 100 points on a board that's kind of getting a little bit devoid of some possibility, but
I love the defensive. I love the defensive merit of that play. I just feel like an engine might dock it on the basis of that S being so valuable as your final S. There are a lot of draws that Evans can have that would follow up with a really good scoring play in that spot, even if not a bingo. So I think everything about Fibs looks really good positionally. The only negative is it hurts to part with that S, but you can see that blocking off multiple lanes heading into, off of this T, anything down through the D, a lot gets blocked here. And Waseem is just going to play DO. Those are valid words. I guess I don't
do.
Yeah, but nippled in particular, I guess.
Yeah, I had to look
I'm not sure if
up.
that's a verb or an adjective, but it is valid.
It's a verb. It's a verb, according to my handy Ulu app, to provide with a nipple.
Nice.
But yeah, Evans, of course, is going to bingo. He's got his choice.
Wow. Winterly for Waseem.
In honor of one of our players, of course, who he played just last week in Indiana. That's going to score, let's see,
It's going to score a
95
ton.
points, I think.
It's going to score so well that if Evans didn't have a bingo of his own right now, and he has a bunch that he is going to spot in this situation, I expect him to play something like Anionic right here. When that happens, Winterly, as much as it scores, isn't going to be that relevant. Evans is already up by 80. He's going to be up by 150 after Anionic. So Winterly is going to score huge. And given the amount of tiles unseen, I guess
it's exactly 7 tiles in the bag.
So. Yeah, so Waseem is going to out bingo in that situation because there are 7 tiles in the bag right now. So that does make it surprisingly close, but I still think Evans is going to come out way ahead. But from Waseem's POV right now, he has to be feeling quite a lot of hope because he is threatening a really big bingo here.
Yeah, this could have gone pretty differently if, like you said, I mean, it was that blank, really. If Evans draws, I mean, basically anything else as his 7th tile, it's, if he drew the other tiles that he has. But yeah, he's probably thinking to himself, well, what if Waseem bingo's out, but he's up by 80 points. A bingo's going to score 70 points. That's 150-point lead. So Waseem would need to fit something like 130-point bingo somewhere on this board. And there's just nowhere on this board to score that many with the letters that are unseen to Evans, right? There's just a G and a Y for the points tiles, and then everything else is a 1-point tile. So basically the worst case scenario for Evans at this point after his bingo is something like Winterly. And yeah, he's sort of used his time, but now he's realizing there's no harm in going for a bingo. And even after Waseem bingo's out, it's not going to be really nearly enough to quite catch Evans. It'll help him on the spread. Point spread always important in any tournament, including these long tournaments. Waseem's going to give it a check. He's going to challenge it. The blank is confirmed to be an N. So Evans will get a second 5-point bonus for a challenged bingo.
Yeah, let me just make sure he gets those 5 points that he knows he's going to get. It's going to move him up to 447 to 292. Waseem is about to get 95 for this out bingo of Winterly, which we know for sure he sees based on the way his tiles are set up. Makes sense that he would challenge this too. I don't think he can. I mean, he certainly can't win if Anionic stays on the board. He probably can't win even if it's not a word either, that his situation is really dire. But he does go ahead and play Winterly, and Evans doesn't even need to think about his next move, as that is going to end the game. So final score of 447 to 403, Sam. There was a lot to dig into here.
It was a good game. I think it was an interesting game. We had some nice bingos, some nice plays from both Evans and Waseem. It was a nice start to the tournament. Certainly for Evans, of course, with the victory. Some plays that were that we had other ideas, we questioned, maybe a couple missed opportunities. Like Ahuru would have been a nice scoring play to ditch some use. But yeah, it was a good game. Do you have any sort of summary thoughts?
Yeah, and I reset the score here. So for those that
and
are
Dentoid, Cat's pointing out Dentoid. I forgot.
Yeah, Dentoid
was a huge swing.
Dentoid was probably the biggest one. So yeah, but that was a big one. Yeah, I don't know. I think there were a bunch of like little plays, but Dentoid probably the biggest. I do like a bunch of the options that were picked here by both players. I think I'm not surprised that we never saw out voices. Evans had those 2 U's, but he never had an O to go with it. But yeah, you could see them talking about the Hod's hook here.
I see a very surprised look on Evans's face. They're pointing to that exactly the spot where that S would have pluralized Hod, and Evans made like an O. So maybe Evans thought it was the past tense, because there is a bit of a tricky thing with this word. So this is like some, obsolete, the Collins Dictionary. We love our obsolete, words. So hod is some obsolete word meaning hold, probably Scottish. And the past tense is actually Hudden, Hudden, or hold. So, and then it can go hodding, Hauding, and hods, of course. So maybe Evans thought this was like the past tense of hold, because like hild, I think Hild is a past tense of hold that doesn't take an S. So anyway, but I think we might have our table mic set up, our overhead mic.
Sure, let's cut to that. They might be done talking, but
dentoid. Is it?
Oh, Waseem realizing dentoid.
Dentoid. Oh wait, you've played a dentoid. I missed that. Yeah, when I played. Oh, you played a D and an O twice. Was it this time or was it this time? Oh, did that go somewhere? Yeah, should be here. Oh yeah. Oh.
That realization is never fun, Sam.
Yeah, that's like the worst. This was kind of the thing that held me back from playing in the big summer tournaments, because I just, it's the worst when it's a word that you've studied and of course, Waseem with his results, you're not going to be able to perform that well in tournaments if you don't have a mastery of the sort of high probability bingos. So he has studied that word. He knows that word. But he didn't see it. He didn't remember it. It just didn't occur to him as an anagram of those letters. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to keep all those bingos straight. And for me, that's the toughest thing after I review my games, especially for me when it's a word I don't know and I've never studied. It's like, oh, geez, so many points I left on the table. It's that it's a big swing. Of course, the strategic aspects are so interesting in Scrabble, and also you got to have that bingo knowledge at the top level. Otherwise, there's just a lot of points on offer with those 50-point bonuses.
Yeah, the combo of the preparation that goes into it beforehand, with all the word knowledge that needs to be gained to play at this level. And I should definitely emphasize too that if you're out there in the chat watching this and saying, wow, this is crazy, you're right, it kind of is. Very few players are at this level. And for those of you certainly from North America, definitely want to encourage and keep the plugs going, both for Word Game Players Organization, WGPO, and Collins Coalition, as great options to get your feet wet and get into the scene. One of the best decisions I've ever made was to find my way out to an over-the-board tournament. You don't go up against these guys when you start out on your journey, but to make it to this level, there is a lot of preparation, a lot of dictionary mastery and learning and effort that goes into it, that you have to pair up with your strategic acumen. So Waseem definitely is going to have seen dentoid multiple times, many times probably over the course of his study. I think it was partially that he spent a lot of time on his previous move. And when you do that, you sometimes want to hurry up on your next move. And that is when mistakes can happen that might not normally. I have a suspicion that's kind of what we saw there. But a pretty interesting game, Sam. And I would just want to call out, this is crazy this early in an event, but we have an absolute banger on deck for everybody. Former world champion Wellington Jigare against fellow former world champion Joel Wapnick in round 2 coming up. I'm pretty amped for that one, Sam.
That's amazing. Of course, thrilled to see them on the stream. Wellington really needs little introduction at this point with the results he's had, and it continues to have. And Joel had a great result last week in South Bend. Joel, I believe, finished 6th in a pretty solid, pretty good CSW field. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch. I think he was showing some good games in Indiana. So hopefully he'll continue to show them. here in New Mexico. Also, thank you so much to our competitor, Evans Clinchy, who has responded to me via text message and has confirmed that he did not think that Hod took an S. So
there we go.
I probably shouldn't have bothered him, but
inside info. Very nice.
Kind of said it. It looked like he was saying it on the stream. And that I think explains a lot about like that Fibs play, why he was so willing to part with that S. I think that if you think Hods is not an acceptable word, it's much more, I think, defensible or even maybe the best play to part with your S for some extra points and some extra defense. But so kind of explaining that, hey, Waseem, thanks for being with us on stream. So yeah, I'm excited for game 2 as well.